Shalom, 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 shalom. First and foremost, giving infinite praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh Ba'ashem El-Shah, Ba'ashem HaKodash. Giving double honors to our apostles, the elders of great millstone. Shalom salutation to you sincere Akims across the four winds. Pushing this truth for sincerity of heart. I'm your fellow servant, Kasamagan from the DC camp. Coming at you through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem El-Shah, Ba'ashem HaKodash, the feed of the elect. Now in this video, this video I was gonna, and I think I'm gonna entitle this. The title is gonna be the Watchtower, and then probably different subtitle because there's really 3 different news that just came in, and I want to bring all of them at once. I'm really trying to make it not really short but not too long, straight to the point. But first, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah El-Shah. Barakatah Yahweh Ba'ashem El-Shah, because it's crazy. Before I shot this video, it was lead being let off in a block where I was at, and it's crazy. But the spirit just telling me to just chill and make the video, and it's just putting that out there, man. It's amazing some of the things that we go through. While you put the video together, man, and then you just hear fucking shots go off, and I had to pretty much duck for a minute because everybody was ducking. You know what I'm saying? And you get up from ducking, hey, you gotta shoot the vid, man, to feed the elect. So, yeah, this is business truth is extremely interesting. This is of course the biggest news. This is news number 1, the biggest news going on right now. I'm just gonna touch on it just a little bit because again, you already, everybody knows what's going on. It's in Afghanistan. And first, we have to establish the fact that the people living in Afghanistan are Elam. Their biblical nationality. They're the Elamites. All right, they're not. When you hear the word Arab means mixture. It's a mixture of different nationalities. Okay, so you have Ishmael, right, which is mostly the Saudis. Then you have Afghanistan, Pakistan on that side, right? On the east, on the eastern side of the Middle East, there's this, over the river Euphrates, those nations are Elamites, okay? So-called Persians. They've just been cut and divided in different so-called countries and shit, but like it's the same people. Now, as you see, man, all hell's breaking loose. The Taliban is taking over fully. So we know that you got a lot of people scrambling to get the hell out of there. They're gonna bring Sharia law, Wahhabists, that other stuff, like really strict laws that have to do with the Quran. So a lot of people trying to get out of there because some people are already being killed. But this is all the signs of the end. And this, we've seen this movie before. This happened. It happened in Iraq. When America left, it was a vacuum. And, happened with, Libya. America went in there with the UN. When they left, it was a vacuum. Now, Libya is ran by ISIS, all right? Which we know who trains ISIS. ISIS is trained by the CIA, funded by Saudi Arabia. You can just go and look it up. I'm not just making this up. This is years of this research. And also, what else? So now you have this thing going on now. The Taliban, and this is on paper. This is documented. This is not conspiracy theory. The Taliban was actually created by the United States government, right? And the UK, an alliance with the UK to get rid of the Soviet Union, Soviet occupation. I think back in the 80s, to fight the Soviet occupation in Afghanistan. So this is historical facts. Zbigniew Brzezinski wrote the book about bragging about how they needed to create, the U.S. needed to create a force called the Taliban to fight against Soviet Union. So these are all factual things. This is geopolitical warfare stuff that Edom, Esau, the devil that the Bible speaks of, it constantly engages in. So, but the point that I want to make with this is this aspect that people are not talking about. This is all geopolitical alignment for the Third World War. You have to understand that this move is not just random. This is geopolitical alignment or affiliations for the up and coming Third World War. This is the critical element of what's going on now. China, right? China preparing to recognize Taliban if Kabul falls, which Kabul, it was the capital, already fell. So China is already recognizing the Taliban as what? As a legitimate force. It's going to say, it says the move comes after the expenses, comes at the expense of the U.S., which has held up the Taliban's international legitimacy as its remaining source of leverage while the militant group storms across Afghanistan. So that militant group has been recognized as a legit government of Afghanistan by the Chinese, and China is a powerful force. All right, and you got 5-0 roaming around looking for whoever let off those shots. But yeah. But anyways, it says China is prepared to recognize the Taliban as the legitimate ruler of Afghanistan if it succeeds in toppling the Western-backed government in Kabul. U.S. News has learned and prospect that undercuts the Biden administration's remaining source of leverage over the insurgent network as it continues its startling campaign to regain control, which that's not going to happen. This is all alignment. Like I said, it's spiritual what's going on. The Most High is moving pieces right now. It's a big move that the Heavenly Father just did right there in the Middle East. All right, the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, that was saying Yahweh Shai. All right, now I'm going to show you something in Scripture that this allegiance between Elam, remember the people living in Afghanistan, they're not Ishmael, they're Elam. All right, and the deal that they made with China, it is something that the Scripture has already spoken of as far as that allegiance that's always been between Elam and Moab. All right, so let's go straight to it. This is in Scripture says the Valley of Vision, which the Valley of Vision always ultimately goes back to Armageddon or Megiddo, the place of the final war, the Third World War. So let me go to, I think it's Isaiah 29, and I had it too. Oh, I did this. Okay, it's all good. I know what to do. All right, Isaiah chapter 22 and Isaiah chapter 22 and 6, it says, and I'm going to start at 5. It says, For it is a day of trouble and of treading down and of perplexity by the Lord power of hosts in the valley of vision, breaking down the walls and of crying of the mountains. Now, verse 6, this is the point. In Elam, right, so-called Persians, and in this case, the Afghanistanis are also Elamites. It says, in Elam bear the quiver with chariots of men and horsemen, and Ker uncovered the shield. So it's talking about an alliance between Elam and Ker. And like I've done this before, you want to find out who Ker is. So you go to Ker. Then when you type in Ker, let's go to, there you go right here. Ker, the word Ker means wall, right? And I made I made a video before breaking down on the fact that what right here, Ker, a place of Assyrian, also one in Moab. It's Ker of Moab. All right, and Ker means wall. That's why you have the Moabites, the so-called Chinese, have this thing called the Wall of China. One of many walls, by the way, that the Chinese had. If you go back into the, I think it was the Qi and Shi dynasty. So like I think it was the Qi and Shi dynasty. The multiple wars that happened in the Chinese dynasties. All of those nations, all of those tribal wars and whatever they all had walls. Okay. So the Chinese are known for having large walls, and of course, the biggest wall known in history, which is the largest, known as the Wall of China. That's where you get the word Ker. All right, so that allegiance between the Chinese and the Persians, right, is nothing new. It's all scriptural, and it's all that same alliance is gonna play big dividends when these groups line up behind Russia and Iran, okay? Because it's going to be Russia, China, Iran, and all the other nations on the other side of on the eastern side of the Euphrates River, all right? And this up-and-coming Third World War. So, this is big. And also, something that I also heard is that we should look out for is with the vacuum that's going on, a lot of immigrants are going to come out from Afghanistan. They're going to be spread out. They're going to be, I think right now the Pentagon said that they're ready to receive a couple 100,000 Afghanistanis, immigrants that are running from what's going on. And then you also have certain nations in Europe that are signing, that basically letting their nations know, their citizens know, that they're going to be receiving a lot of people that are fleeing from Afghanistan. Just like in Syria, when Syria went with the hell in the handbasket, a lot of Syrian refugees fled to different places such as Greece and France. So you should be expecting the same thing to happen. And it's also biblical. When you go to Jeremiah 49:37, the Most High gives the judgment of what's going to happen to Elam. A lot of these Elamite nations, they're going to get hemmed up, because Edom Esau is going to get down there. The Chinese going to be down there, and it's going to be, everybody going to be, it's going to be chaos. And regular citizens are going to be judged. They're going to be pushed to flee out of their lands. All right. So this is Jeremiah chapter 49 and 36. It says, and upon Elam will I bring the four winds from the four corners of the heavens, and I will scatter them towards all those winds. And these are armies. All right, these are armies that are coming, man. Different nations, different armies that are coming. And then when your nation get destabilized like that, you got to get the hell up out of Dodge, man. It says, and I will scatter them towards all those winds, and there shall be no nation whither the outcasts of Elam shall not come. It says, for I will cause Elam to be dismayed before their enemies, and before them that seek their life, and I will bring evil upon them, even my fierce anger, saith the Lord, and I will send a sword after them till I have consumed them. All right. So Elam being scattered across, as refugees and all. That's all. Listen, man. There's nothing new under the sun. A lot of these skirmishes that are happening now, similar skirmishes happened in the ancient times. That's why when the prophets wrote about this, they knew that similar skirmishes was going to happen before the Third World War. So when they wrote it down, we could actually spot these things and know, oh, these are the signs of the end. All right. So now this is Luke chapter 12, verse I'm gonna go straight to 54. It says, and he said also, and he said also, this is how it shot, and he said also to the people, when ye see a cloud rise out of the west, straightway ye say, there cometh a shower. And so it is. Meaning what? When you see the clouds move towards the west, it's anticipation of what? Rain. All right. It says, and when ye see the south wind blow, ye say, there will be heat, and it cometh to pass. It says, ye hypocrites, can you discern the face of the sky and of the earth? Meaning you have that instinct, that tells you, that anticipation that tells you, hey, it's going to rain or it's going to be hot. You're able to do that, right? Through shared spiritual instincts, right? It says, ye hypocrites, ye can discern the face of the sky and of the earth, but how is it that ye do not discern this time? So how is it that your same instincts are totally shut off when it comes to discerning what's happening in the world right now? These ain't just small skirmishes. These are skirmishes that are signs for the leader to the Third World War. The war to end all wars, man. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, but listen, in the Watchtower, man, all we gonna do through the spirit and power, how by Shemel Shah, we gonna put the information out there. When something happens, we're gonna be able to link it with the scriptures, so this is the work, indeed the work of the Lord. It ain't just some random stuff going on. All right. So now the next news I want to go into, and I'm gonna really go through this real quick. This is news number 2. This is Nixon broke with gold 50 years ago. What comes next? So I guess today, 50 years ago, your boy Nixon basically broke with gold. Prior to that, it was already set up like that. But this is a sign. This is because what happened when the gold standard was lifted off the dollar. Now the dollar basically just became a piece of paper in which you would have to just bring confidence. So if I told you that this paper was worth a certain amount of money, you would have to believe that it's actually worth that. I couldn't prove that piece of paper was worth what it was. So what tends to happen with that, you tend to have, first of all, you're going to have debt, uncontrollable debt, right? Because you can just say, well, I'm gonna give you some more money. I'm gonna print more money that's worth that I believe is worth a certain amount, and you could keep accepting that, except instead of accepting hardcore assets, true money. All right, so it brings about debt and it brings about corruption. That's what this money does, and the fact that the gold standard got lifted off, the amount of corruption skyrocketed in the entire world, and the debt levels skyrocketed in the entire world, man. All right, so it's basically, and you should definitely read the article just to get more wisdom on that. But I just want to bring that out, and let's get some real assets in the scriptures, currency in the scriptures. Genesis chapter 13, verse 1. And Abraham went up out of Egypt, he and his wife, and all that he had, and Lot with him, into the south. And Abram was very rich in cattle, in silver, and in gold. So that's real substance. All right, cattle, silver, and in gold, and also land, which is not written in there, but that's the unwritten substance that we know is very important. You need land, cattle, silver, and gold. That's real substance. So gold used to be the standard for the dollar. About 50 years ago, Nixon took that out, but it wasn't Nixon. He was ordered to do that by the international bankers, the elites, the Rockefeller, the Rothschilds. Don't ever get caught up on what the United States president or CEO of this corporation says. All right, because the actual owners of this land, because this land was bought in 1913, right? Read the Creature from Jekyll Island. This land became a corporation bought in 1913. All right, so the people who run this land, the people who install income tax, the national income tax, which is really unconstitutional according to the Constitution. So those are the people who run stuff, and the plan of the elites was always to bankrupt this place, but it was going to be incremental, and through time you was going to have massive amount of debts, which a lot of you Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans would get yourself involved into and wouldn't be able to get yourself out of, because we don't have land, we don't have businesses. So a lot of times we get into these, we got into the system with the credit cards and so on and so forth. Most of us got into this pit and was never able to get out. Okay, and then it brought about corruption, which is fraud, and a lot of us have engaged into fraudulent activities and finances. You know what I'm saying? You talking about so-called Negroes, Spanish, Native Americans, and we know that. All right, we know these things to be true. And then when you engage into that, your soul is corrupted, because you defrauding your neighbor. So the fact that the gold standard was taken away from the dollar, it opened up a door of evil, where Jake was able to defraud their neighbor by using currency that wasn't worth nothing. All right, and the scripture speaks about this, man. All right, so first let's get that Ecclesiasticus 27:2. As a nail sticketh fast between the joinings of the stones, so doth sin stick close between buying and selling. So sin is really close to, is always close to buying and selling. Then so when you really remove hardcore assets, and now we just shaking hands off of like a piece of paper, where we just have this imaginary confidence in this piece of paper, it opens up a pathway for you to be defrauded, man. And that's what's going on. It started with, of course, Edom, Esau, and then Jake's. The nation of Israel got involved in there. Why? Because being slaves, that's the only system that we were taught. A wicked system, this image of banking, this banking system. All right, where the currency is not backed by hard, true assets. Okay, real currency. But because of that, it brought about a lot of debt. But Esau was able to do his thing, because with that he was able to persuade a lot of the nations to buy into his garbage, right? Yeah, he became rich off of that. This is Ezekiel chapter 28, verse 5. It says, by thy great wisdom and by thy traffic hast thou increased thy riches, and thine heart is lifted because of thy riches. All right, so, but that traffic is fraudulent, man. Besides, even the slave trade, but besides the slave trade, all the different, the commerce that Esau's got going on is based on fraud. All right. And so that's why I got this. This is Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 6. Shall not all these take up a parable against them, and a taunting proverb against them, and say, Woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. Right, and the taunting parable is kind of like this video, this lesson. Basically calling this devil out to say, hey, listen, you took away a hardcore asset from your currency because you wanted to basically open up a pathway of wickedness and corruption, which you did corrupt a lot of the hearts of the Israelites, so-called Negroes, Spanish, Native Americans, and the nations, right? But in the process of doing that, you racked up a lot of debt, okay? You racked up a lot of debt, and now you're going to receive a wound that's even bigger than the wound of the ancient Roman Empire, because the ancient Roman Empire did the same thing. They diluted the money, right? They mixed in silver. Instead of straight pure silver and gold, they would do half silver and half fucking metal. And then people started to detected that the currency wasn't full 100% pure silver, so they wouldn't value that money for what is stated on the coin. So it might have said 10 coins of silver, but if it's 10 coins of silver, but those coins is half silver, half metal, it wasn't looked at it as 10 coins of silver. That's why Rome had to put out more silver, and they couldn't feed their armies that were spread thin. Similar with the Virgin Daughter of Babylon, the reincarnation of the ancient Roman Empire, United States of America, man, similar situation. You know what I'm saying? You buried in debt. So now you're going to receive a wound that's even bigger than the wound of ancient Rome, man. All right? And also, by the way, the word thick clay right there in the Hebrew is abayat, which is debt. Just put that out there. Let me see. All right, let me get this one to close out this. This is Ecclesiasticus of the Apocrypha, chapter 10, verse... chapter 10, verse 8, it says, because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit. So you got rich by deceit. You know what I'm saying? You don't even have the actual gold, but you like, you know what, because I don't have the actual gold, I'm just going to get rid of the gold standard. I'm just going to use paper and lie to people that I have a certain amount of gold that I actually do not possess. Only the elites, the Rothschilds, possess that type of gold. The United States of America, Fort Knox, is a joke. There's nothing in there. They don't possess the gold that they let the whole world know that they possess. They don't. Okay? They don't possess that gold. That's why they keep printing money. But they prey on the confidence of these nations that still worship the system, this image. They pray that, well, these nations believe that Babylon still has that amount of gold, but it don't. It hasn't had that amount of gold, in decades. Okay? In decades. So that's the reason why this thing's gonna go down, man. It's gonna go down. It's been going down. Inflation is going up. You can see in your prices. You ain't gotta be told. Every time you pull up to the store, you see what's going on, the gas prices. Because now, hey, the chicken is coming back to roots. So the last one I had was this, and I'm gonna be real quick with this one, man. Like I said, this is gonna be a 3-in-1. This is also something that just came in, man. Government reports heightened terror threat. Remember, we going into August, man, September, October, those 3 months. Everybody that gets into conspiracy theory, that gets into real deep news, hidden news, all that, we entering what's called false flag season. All right, August, September, October. That's when governments, especially our government, right, of the Virgin Daughter of Babylon, gets into that. That's why they start doing their thing. So anything could happen, but just know that they already have set up. The narrative is already set up, and the narrative is that the Department of Homeland Security issued an updated national terrorism bulletin Friday, warning of continuing threats to the homeland from foreign and domestic terrorists, and from individuals and groups engaged in grievance-based violence. And this was the number one. There was like 3 of them, right? But I'm just going to get the number one because that's the most important right now. It says the bulletin, the third of its kind issued by the Biden administration, warned of the influence of online forums in social media in the spread of violent extremist narratives, including those suggesting resistance to COVID-19 restrictions and that the 2020 election was marked by fraud. The bulletin also mentioned the risk of targeted violence around the 20th anniversary of the September 11 attacks on New York and Washington, D.C., and around religious holidays. So the three things they had was one, violent extremist narratives are potential terror threats. People that suggest that people that are against COVID restrictions are also potential domestic terrorists. And then, of course, people that say that the election was fraudulent. So, yeah, if you're anti-vaxxer, baby, guess what? The NSA got eyes on you, man. So the narrative is already set up. Okay, so now all we just waiting on is for the government to do what they do. If you know what I'm talking about. So I'm just gonna get two quick precepts. Revelation 2:10. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful to death, and I will give thee a crown of life. That's plain and simple. And I'm going to wrap up with Proverbs chapter 3, verse 25. Be not afraid of sudden fear, neither of the desolation of the wicked when it cometh. For the Lord Yahweh shall be thy confidence, and shall keep thy foot from being taken. All right. And oh, man, I got to get this precept too. Because I think this precept, I just read that. Just bear with me, I just read that. Lord willing, I can bring this and hopefully it sticks too. Because I saw this precept, I was like, wow, man, that's exactly what we go through. So I just have to bring this up. Was it 15? We don't believe 12. Oh, there you go. 1 John 4:17. I want to keep this one in mind. 1 John 4:17. Herein is our love made perfect, that we may have boldness in the day of judgment. Because as he is, so are we in this world. And it's that second part there. We may have boldness in the day of judgment. We live in a day of judgment. The things I'm talking about, the things we're talking about through the Spirit, these things, this some bold statements, man, because I am fully aware, of, what can potentially happen, to me off of the things that I'm saying. But, a man when you're a man at war, you understand, I know my enemies, I respect them, and I also understand what it's going to take. And I also understand, when you go for the throne, your neck is on the line, so it's not a game, you know what I'm saying? And we trust in Yahweh Shem Shah ultimately. All right, so with that, Kyle Halayim La Yahweh Shem Shah, double honors to our apostles, elders, a great millstone, shalom to you, sincere Akis. Stay strong, stay faithful, shalom.